I'm both the Idaho State Chapter Leader as well as the local event coordinator. I am also a clinical social worker, and I provide therapy for children and families. I understand this luncheon is kicking off a month-long exploration about social justice for LGBTQ people within the context of your faith. A little bit about the Free Mom Hugs history. Free Mom Hugs was founded by Sarah Cunningham. She is a mother from Oklahoma City. She was raising her family while also being in a Southern Baptist church, very active in the church, very much her community. However, she clearly had a gay son, and she believed being gay would lead to multiple threats to his life, just day to day, and eventual eternal damnation. Her son, Parker, comes out to her at age 10, again at age 17, and every time Sarah just dismisses it, rejects it, hopes it's just a phase. And they were both secretly, or individually praying kind of the gay away, wishing, he was wishing he would no longer be gay, and she was wishing desperately that he would not be gay. However, at age 20, Parker just told his parents, there's someone I want you to meet. And they knew what that meant. And he introduced them to his boyfriend and eventual husband. This plunged Sarah into a deep depression. She became very despondent and withdrawn from life. Soon, Parker came to her and said, I sucked it up for 20 years being your son, and I need you to suck it up now and be my mom. This triggered something in Sarah, and she decided she was going to find a way to reconcile her Christian faith along with loving and accepting her gay son. So it took about 5 years of exploration, reading, looking for everything she could for examples of people and churches who were affirming. And she finally found a new path and decided she was going to become an out ally for her son. In 2015, she attended Oklahoma City Pride with her son and her husband. And she kind of just right before hastily made a little button with just in Sharpie that said, Free Mom Hugs. She didn't know what would come of it or if anything would come of it. But before too long, a young woman ran up to her and asked for a hug and held her for a long time and whispered, my mom hasn't hugged me for 4 years since I told her I was gay. And of course that made a huge impact on Sarah. And she got many more hugs that day and heard many more stories just like that. By the next year, she gathered a group of friends to come with her to Pride. And they gave lots of hugs. In 2018, she made a social media post and it went viral. And in it she said, if you need a mom to attend your same-sex wedding because your biological mom won't, call me. I'm there. I'll be your biggest fan. I'll even bring the bubbles. She has since attended hundreds of such weddings and even started officiating them. This post was likely one of the first times I heard about Free Mom Hugs, and I was inspired to start the local group in 2019. I just loved the simplicity of the group's concept. It really belies how powerful its impact can be. Basically, just show up for the LGBTQ plus members of your community. offer an affirming presence for anyone who needs it. There seems to be a lot of free-floating hate right now, especially for trans people. So there needs to be some free-floating love to counteract it. Our group has since had a booth at every Palouse Pride. We give free homemade cookies and crafts, and of course give smiles and hugs and affirming confirmation and conversations. We've helped with various projects, a gender diverse clothing drive for WSU, a Friendsgiving at WSU and at Inland Oasis in Moscow. We recruit volunteers for the Inland Oasis food pantry. We've had a booth at the U of I coming out day carnivals. We helped decorate for queer prom at U of I. Helped at U of I LGBTQ plus Center ice cream socials. We hosted the Mama Bears documentary at the Kenworthy a few years ago, which your church helped sponsor. So thanks for that again. That documentary followed a few Christian families that had to reconcile their non-affirming faith with their LGBTQ children, and it included Sarah Cunningham's story. So now looking at the theme of social justice, it's important to know that there have been over 13 laws enacted in Idaho just since 2020 that target primarily trans people. Laws banning trans women from participating in women's sports, laws banning gender-affirming care, laws removing access to books that are deemed harmful to minors, which have primarily been books with LGBTQ plus characters or themes, laws requiring the use of restroom and changing facilities that are based on assigned sex at birth, laws requiring teachers and medical personnel to out children to parents, laws preventing school staff from using children's preferred names and pronouns if they are different from their assigned sex at birth, and protecting school staff from any liability if they refuse to use a student's preferred names or pronouns, a law removing the term gender from state documents and statutes, instead only allowing either the designation of female or male sex, laws banning flags which represent gender or sexual orientation, laws banning diversity, equity, and inclusion in public education throughout the state. Some of you may know that U of I had to shut down their LGBTQ plus office as well as their Women's Center due to this law. And a law that came into effect just a couple months ago that affects my profession in particular, it bans healthcare providers, educators, and childcare providers from aiding in a minor's gender, medical, or even social transition without explicit permission from their parents or guardians. It also requires those professionals to report a minor to their parents within 72 hours if the child requests to use different pronouns or go by a different name. This law is in direct conflict with my social work code of ethics and every major psychological and medical association's guidance for the care of trans and gay people. So, what can we do when we see such injustices in our state? Of course, we need to find out where our politicians stand on these topics that we care about and to vote accordingly. We could even campaign for them or even run for office ourselves. We can get involved with local nonprofits, that support LGBTQ plus people, attend prides, and display supportive flags at home. But I'm definitely here to say, don't underestimate the power of the small gestures like Sarah Cunningham's homemade Free Mom Hugs button. A bit from a counselor's perspective for a moment. We are always subconsciously assessing our environment for cues of threat and for cues of safety. Trans people in Idaho must be sensing a lot of overt cues right now of threat. But we can offer them cues of safety in simple, even nonverbal ways. For example, I carry this pillow with me a lot anytime I have to sit on a hard bench, thanks to some cranky SI joints. So I have this with me often for years now. I had it at the Kibbe Dome for their terrible hard seats they have there. And there was a time where we're standing, I don't know if it was a sports thing or a music thing, but standing and clapping. And as I turned around to kind of adjust my pillow, there was a person right behind me who I would imagine was probably a trans person. And they said, "I like your pillow." And they didn't mean they wanted to buy one. They liked how it made them feel to see that maybe in a sporting event or something. Another occasion I was walking the dog, and I was wearing one of my Free Mom Hug shirt that says, "Don't hide your pride." And we were walking by the Egan Youth Center, and there was a young child, probably about 8 or so, seeing me walk up, and I saw her reading my shirt. And as I approached, she said, "I like your shirt. I have 2 moms." And I assumed she wasn't always comfortable sharing that with just anybody, but she could see that I was likely someone she could share that with. I also wear a rainbow pin on my hat, my sun hat, and I've seen several people look at it and smile and just seem automatically more at ease. So in light of that, I brought in some pins for any of you who'd like to wear one. I'll make sure you get them. They have a little rainbow and it says, "You are safe with me." And so anyone is welcome to take one if you would like to wear one. I also brought some pronoun pins. I also think that wearing your pronoun pins is a really nice, subtle message to trans people. Now lastly, with the theme of religious faith, I have to admit, I am not a religious person. I was raised Catholic. I attended Catholic school and attended Mass every Sunday and on holy days of obligation, probably through about the age of 18 or 19. But I also realized to say that I'm not religious is also a bit ironic. I realized embarrassingly late maybe in my life that the messages I got from listening to the stories about Jesus likely led me to become the person that I am. Both the choices I have made in my professional life and in my volunteerism. But I don't feel that I have an adult's understanding of Christianity. My understanding comes from a simple child's perspective. Jesus was sent to be our example and guide us how to live. People were apparently getting it all wrong before, so God sent in us Jesus to set us all straight. You are to stand up for those that are being shunned and made to feel like scapegoats or outcasts. You are to be on the lookout for Pharisees who pretend to be followers of God, but are really just greedy and pompous and only using God for their personal gain. That you are to remain open to hear God's calling for action, to help those that need it, and to relieve suffering when you can. I particularly remember the story when one of Jesus's disciples assumed that Jesus wouldn't want annoying children around. And he surprised them by saying, "Let the little children come to me." I ran across this. I don't know who to attribute this to, but I absolutely adore this image. I'll leave it here for you to get a better look. But it's this very classic image of Jesus. And it says, "You know I'm woke, right? I'm like the wokest." If I had the property and the money, I would put a bulletin board that had this on it when you enter in the north end of town. I have shared with Pastor Hannah some via email some resources, books, documentaries, podcasts, handouts, and information about other organizations. Oh, okay. Sorry, that was a little sloppy, quick email, but
there's more on here too.
Yeah, but and other organizations that I hope might be helpful in your guys' exploration this coming month. Does anyone have any questions for me?